Hey vinyl community, Austin here, and I am going to do the 2019 vinyl tag. I've got the list of questions here. I'm recording on my phone for the first time. I tried to do this all in one take yesterday, but I found out that my Canon 7D only records 12 minutes at a time, so it cut it off at 12 minutes and I talked for about 20, so I was kind of pissed about that. But I'm trying again. Hopefully my iPhone has enough space, but yes, let's get it started. First question is your best find of 2018. Now, one of the reasons why this video is up so late is because I actually had to wait for this to come in. I ordered this in mid-November, but it took forever to get here, which is crazy because I bought this from Mexico. And I live in Texas, so it's not really far at all. But it took a while to get through customs, and then it said it was out for delivery, but it was not shipped due to interference by an animal, which I still am not sure what that even means. So I finally had to go through the postal service and go pick it up at the post office, but it is Neon Bible by Arcade Fire, and it is signed. This was an eBay find. I did not find this out in the wild. It was super cheap, which leads me to believe that maybe it's fake. I don't know why someone would fake Arcade Fire. I mean, they're not like the Rolling Stones or some giant, massive band or anything, but I looked at these signatures and they match other signatures, so I said, oh, why not? Because what I bought this for is not much more than this album is individually. Or not individually, but without signatures. So yeah, I got this for an absolute steal. This is probably my favorite record in my collection now, or at least one of them. Even though it's not my favorite Arcade Fire album, just the fact that it's signed by them is a big deal. So yeah, my best find of 2018, hands down, Neon Bible, signed by some of the band members of Arcade Fire. Shout out to other VC channels who deserve more viewers. Honestly, all of y'all deserve more viewers. It kind of irritates me that each one of y'all doesn't get thousands of views, but the main people that come to mind that I watch all the videos they put out are Dylan from Noble Records, Smokestack Records, the Omaha Introvert, Naz Nomad, Jeff Kempen, and Groovy Lisa. I watch all their videos, even though I don't comment on a lot because I'm not, I don't know, I'm just kind of a shy person, but I watch everything that y'all put up, and y'all's videos are awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. So, yeah, shout out to other VC channels. There you go. If you're following me, you're probably already following them, but if not, look up those people and follow them. Third question, what holes are you looking to fill in your collection? I need a door by the Smashing Pumpkins. I need a few more hip-hop albums. I need stuff by the Ghetto Boys, which I don't have. I need some Biggie. I only have Midnight Marauders by A Tribe Called Quest, so I need more of that. I need more Queen. I only have Queen 2. And that's all I can think of at the moment. But I'm sure I'm missing some. Number 4, a cheap album that's really good. Now, I can list 10 or 11 of these because I'm just going to go with a band that their albums usually go for cheap, and they're all really good, and that is Chicago. This is their first album, Chicago Transit Authority, and it is absolutely phenomenal. I highly recommend y'all go find these. They're super cheap. And I mean, this was probably like $3 or $4. It's a double album, and the reason they're so cheap is because they sold millions and millions and millions of these. You can find them anywhere. So yeah, a cheap album that's really good. Chicago, I recommend Chicago Transit Authority, their first album, or Chicago 2. Those are my two personal favorites. Number 5 is your favorite side project album. I had a hard time with this because I don't have a lot of albums that are actually side projects. I don't listen to a whole lot of side projects, and the ones that I do, I don't have on vinyl. I have the New Barbarians, but the record that I have isn't that great. It's a live performance. But I decided to go with something a little different, and I went with Johnny Greenwood, who does movie soundtracks for a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson's movies. So he did Inherent Vice, There Will Be Blood, and You Were Never Really Here. Inherent Vice and You Were Never Really Here have Joaquin Phoenix in them, but the soundtracks to these movies, the original scores that Johnny Greenwood of Radiohead fame did, are absolutely exceptional. They are great. I highly recommend you look them up because, I mean, they're awesome. So yeah, my favorite side project, I'd have to go with Johnny Greenwood of Radiohead and the soundtracks that he makes. A song from an artist or band that is uncharacteristic in their catalog. I had a very hard time with this. I mean, I was thinking of all sorts of stuff and just could not come up with anything. And then it dawned on me that on this album, there is a song that is unlike any of the others. And it's not Layla. The song is Thorn Tree in the Garden. It's the last song on the album. It's by Bobby Whitlock. It's kind of like a slow acoustic number, but it's a really good song, but it just doesn't fit in with the kind of intense blues of the rest of the album. But nonetheless, great song. But yeah, a song from an artist that's uncharacteristic, Thorn Tree in the Garden off of Layla by Derek and the Dominoes. The last album you purchased is number 7. This I have to kind of rotate around. I got the soundtrack to Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. This is my favorite Harry Potter movie, which it comes as a surprise to no one probably, or at least none of my friends. By far my favorite Harry Potter movie, this and Order of the Phoenix, I would have to say. But the soundtrack to this one is definitely my favorite. So they came out with these in a big box set that was like $250. And I was kind of devastated because I didn't want to pay $250 for, I think it was just the first 5 movies, and they were all on picture discs, and I didn't want to pay that much for 5 or 7 or whatever picture discs. And then they found out they had them individually on, I think, Barnes & Noble for like 20 or $25 or something. So I snagged this one, and that was my last purchase. Number 8, a great album with a bad cover. I'm not going to show the other cover of this because I don't want to get taken down and flagged and whatnot for nudity, but Blind Faith's album, you can Google it and I'm sure it'll pop up, but you probably already know what I'm talking about. I have no idea why they chose, it's not this, by the way. I have no idea why they chose what they chose, but whatever. So yeah, great album with a bad cover. Blind Faith self-titled album. I'm not going to show it. I have no idea why. It kind of makes me sick even owning it. The non-band, or the band cover, rather. Number 10, or Number 9, a bad album with a cool cover. I don't really have any bad albums with cool covers. I don't really have any bad albums. I'm not gonna buy a record if I don't want to listen to it, so I had nothing for that. Number 10, a blues album. I was gonna go with Howlin' Wolf album, which I've shown 100 times, so I decided not to do that. Then I was gonna go with the Blues Masterworks compilations, but that's a bit boring since it's just a compilation. So I decided to go with Boogie with Canned Heat. This is one of the first bands I ever fell in love with when I watched the Woodstock DVD and I saw them performing Leaving This Town. And Blind Al Wilson is a exceptional guitar player. He passed away at the age of 27, so he's a part of that club. But yeah, I mean, they are a hell of a band, highly underrated. If you like blues music, I definitely recommend checking out Canned Heat. 11, an earworm song. Like many other people, I had never heard this term, and I kind of assumed what it meant, but other people clarified it in their videos, so thank you to everyone who made a video before me and clarified what this meant. I get a lot of songs stuck in my head. I mean, pretty much anything I listen to will eventually get stuck in my head. But I don't think anything gets stuck in my head more than any song by Tame Impala. Apocalypse Dreams, Mind Mischief, Feels Like We Only Go Backwards, Why Won't They Talk to Me, all of those songs just constantly play on repeat anytime I hear them. If I hear them at 7 a.m. one day, I'll be humming that song at 7 p.m. that night. I've been listening to Why Won't They Talk to Me a lot lately, so that one's been stuck in my head. But if you like psychedelic rock, or psychedelic pop, I highly recommend Tame Impala. They are pretty great. Pretty damn great. I like Lonerism. A lot of other people like Currents, and I probably would have shown Currents because that's a little catchier, but I gave that to my friend for her birthday, so I don't have a copy anymore. That's another hole in my collection. I need Currents by Tame Impala and Inner Speaker. I've got their EP and Lonerism. Number 12, a historically important artist. Someone else might have already done this, but I went with the band. And they are historically important because they basically changed music. And I know a lot of things have been, that phrase has been thrown at pretty much every band who strikes it big. But in the time of like hippie rebellion and you know, anti-war protest songs and whatnot, you get these guys, a bunch of Canadians and one American, singing the most like Americana, folky, awesome, down-home songs that seem like they were written in the 1800s, and they're performed to perfection. And their first album came out in 1968, 67. I'm not sure when Music from Big Pink came out, and then they had this Brown album, and then this is their last album, The Last Waltz, and this is their final performance with all of the original members on Thanksgiving Day in 1976. And basically, whenever they recorded Music from Big Pink, Eric Clapton heard it and basically realized, hey, this is the kind of stuff that I want to do. You know, more songy songs, not quite Sunshine of Your Love, things that tell a story, deeper meaning, what have you. And that led him to joining Delaney and Bonnie, then Blind Faith, and Derek and the Dominoes, and so on and so forth. But to tell you of the to tell you the historical importance of these guys. This is their last performance, and at various points, and all at one time at the very end, they had these people join them on stage. Paul Butterfield, Eric Clapton, Neil Diamond, Bob Dylan, Emmylou Harris, Ronnie Hawkins, Dr. John, Joni Mitchell, Van Morrison, the Staple Singers, Ringo Starr, Muddy Waters, Ronnie Wood, and Neil Young. That is a hell of a lineup. And them doing I Shall Be Released at the very end, all of those people on stage is just awesome. So yeah, historically important artist, the band. 13, an album you own because of your parents. Now, my parents have great musical taste. I got a lot of what I listen to from them. So, we grew up in Houston, so ZZ Top, Leonard Skinner, Allman Brothers, Marshall Tucker Band, a lot of that Southern rock stuff. My mom was big into 80s music whenever I was growing up in the early 90s, early to mid 90s. So I heard a lot of like Tears for Fears on the radio and whatnot, and Jimmy Buffett, and they listen to a little bit of everything, but mostly rock music. And they have a few common threads where there's a few bands that they both really thoroughly love and enjoy. Elton John is one, ZZ Top is another. But one that I find pretty fascinating, and this has led to big changes in my life and the way I play guitar and whatnot, is Fleetwood Mac. Now, I chose... Get the glare off. Oh, I guess I can't. I chose Rumors because this copy was actually my mom's before I stole it from her. But this is not even close to my favorite Fleetwood Mac album. I like the Peter Green era more, and I like the Bob Welch era pretty much just as much as the Buckingham Nicks era. But that's why I chose this, is because my parents listened to this Fleetwood Mac growing up, and they loved it, as everyone does. And, they knew all these songs, and then loved Fleetwood Mac after this. I think my dad saw them on the Tusk tour. He was front row in Houston. And my dad and mom saw them several times till we finally, all three of us, saw them together in 2015, maybe? 2015 or 2016, whenever they first got Christine McVie back and Lindsay was still in the band. I saw them, and that was really cool. But it led me to looking up the more Fleetwood Mac and finding out about the Peter Green era and then about the Bob Welch era. So yeah, an album I had because of my parents, Fleetwood Mac, Rumors. Number 14, best dollar bin find. This was very easy. I don't know if this was found in a $1 bin. I want to say it was like a $3 bin, maybe like $4. But it was under $5. Most of the dollar bins in Houston are completely trash. They'll have double albums where one disc is missing or whatever, and I just won't usually bother with any of that. But I found this one to be really fascinating. I believe this is a first pressing, because I looked it up on Discogs. But this is I'm Jimmy Reed by Jimmy Reed. I believe first pressing on VJ, and it's got some tape on it with a guy's name, Ed Krishka. It is definitely a little scratched, or not just a little, but a lot of scratched. But for $3 or $4, I couldn't pass it up, and yeah, that's probably been my best dollar bin find, I would have to say. So yeah, Best Dollar Been Fine. I'm Jimmy Reed by Jimmy Reed. 15, favorite double album. This is no contest. I've probably listened to this album more than any other in this room, and that is The Suburbs by Arcade Fire. I'm sure everyone is sick and tired of hearing me talk about how much I love this album. Sorry. But I think this is just a masterpiece, 10 out of 10. The more I listen to it, the more I love it. Usually I listen to an album and I get burnt out on it and then move on to another album. But this one, for the past almost 9 years, I have listened to, and I've never been burnt out about it, never stopped listening to it, never wanted to veer away from it. It's been in my top 3 for the past 9 or so years, and in the past maybe 2 or 3, I would say it's surpassed Layla and Melancholy to take the top spot. So yeah, my favorite double album of all time is gonna have to be The Suburbs by Arcade Fire. 16, an album you learned about from the VC in the last year. I think this could be wrong here, but I think the Omaha Introvert did a contest where she was asking about psychedelic music. And a lot of people in their entries mentioned this album, and it is Days of Future Past by the Moody Blues. Now, I knew, I think, Sunday Afternoon and Nights in White Satin by the Moody Blues, but I didn't know hardly any of these other songs. So I listened to it on YouTube because everyone else was mentioning it, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I happened to be digging one day, found it for $4. It's a pretty beat up copy, but yeah, got it for $4, and that's an album I found out about through the VC. Number 17, a 10-inch record. I have a lot of 10-inch records because a local half-price books will sometimes sell them for like $0.25. And if I find something by the Ink Spots or Bob Crosby or Hank Williams, I'll go ahead and buy it because, I mean, it's $0.25. And even though they're usually scratched and beat up beyond play, it's just kind of cool to have something that's, you know, from the 40s or 50s. And instead of showing one of those that's all beat up and whatnot, I figured I'd show this. Get the glare off a little bit. But this is Greg Allman's picture disc from Record Store Day 2015, I think. And which is kind of cool because I think I saw him live in 2014 or 2015, around the time that this came out. But this was released for Record Store Day 1 year. And it's got 4 songs on it. I'm sorry if it's all smudgy, but these things are very reflective. And it's kind of a pain to take out of there. It's got 4 songs on it. 1 is Whipping Post. 2 is I'm No Angel. Then it's got Melissa with Jackson Browne and Midnight Rider with Vince Gill and Zach Brown. It's a really cool picture disc. You can probably pick it up for pretty cheap. I'm not sure. I've never really looked into it. But I'm sure you can probably get it for cheap. And it's actually really good. I believe you can see these performances on YouTube too if they haven't taken them down due to copyright. But yeah, so 10-inch, that would be Greg Allman. Number 18 is a 7-inch record. This I have to show because this is probably my my favorite 7-inch that I own, because it's probably my favorite song by this band. And this is, I don't even know if, there we go. This is Plundered My Soul by the Rolling Stones. I love this song, and basically the story behind it is while they were redoing, I believe, Sticky Fingers. It could be Exile on Main Street. Not entirely sure. They were remastering, remixing, doing all that, one of them. So they dug up the original tapes and found an instrumental track with, I believe, Keith Richards on guitar, Bill Wyman on bass, Charlie Watts on drums, and Bobby Keys on sax. And it was like a full flushed out song with no lead guitar and no vocals. So, Mick Jagger wrote vocals for it and recorded them. This would have been in like 2008, 2009, something like that. So when he was like 60, he sang these vocals in the style that he would have sang them in back in 1970, 71, 72. And then they invited, the coolest part is they invited one of my favorite guitarists, Mick Taylor, to come in and play lead. And he just rips through this whole song. This was a Record Store Day thing from 2010. I'm not sure what it's limited to, but I got number 2658. And you can pick these up for kind of cheap, I think. Highly recommend it. Even if you don't buy this, look up the song on YouTube if you like the Stones and have never heard of this song, because it's phenomenal. Number 19, favorite album to fall asleep to. This is kind of difficult because, like everyone else, I don't fall asleep with a record on. If I put a record on, I'm there to listen to it or play guitar to it or, you know, clean my room or something. I don't put a record on to fall asleep. I do sometimes listen to music to fall asleep, and I do have some of that music on vinyl, so I'm going to show that stuff. But I don't listen to these exact records while falling asleep. First is the Interstellar soundtrack. This soundtrack, particularly the song Stay, I ripped off of YouTube. I downloaded like an hour-long version or a 13-hour version or something and listened to it for part of the plane ride whenever I went to Denmark. And it is a phenomenal soundtrack done by Hans Zimmer, I believe, yeah. Done by Hans Zimmer, who's done just about every other movie soundtrack out there that's been great. And yeah, I highly recommend this. If you haven't seen the movie, then look this up if you're into kind of ambient soundscape kind of stuff. If you have seen the movie, you know how great the soundtrack is. But yeah, so first, Interstellar, particularly the song Stay. And second, this I might even like more than that, is the Minecraft soundtrack. Now I know you're thinking that this is a kid's game, and you might be right. But the soundtrack on this is actually very good. Like the Interstellar soundtrack, it's very kind of ambient and soundscapey, but it's very calming, very soothing. It's fantastic. This version comes on green vinyl, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I listen to this a lot on plane rides if I want to fall asleep too. A lot of video game soundtracks that unfortunately aren't available on vinyl also have really great music to fall asleep to. But those are the only two that I could think of. And then the last question is your favorite VC experience and or advice for people contemplating making videos. My favorite vinyl community experience has been learning to talk a little better. I know I still say if and buts and what have you, but like that. But I would never have dreamed of talking to a camera like this and uploading it to the world for people, you know, all over my, you know, city, let alone the country, let alone the world to watch. a year ago or 2 years ago, that would have terrified the hell out of me. But now I'm here. I used to edit my videos after every sentence because I thought that people would get very annoyed with me saying yada yada yada. But I decided to go ahead and do this all in one take, see how it worked. Seems like it's been okay, even though this is 30 minutes apparently. So yeah, that's been my favorite VC experience, is kind of learning how to public speak a little better. And yeah, advice for people contemplating making videos, like I'm doing right now. I would recommend to some people, if you want to get started, you can edit your videos a little and that's fine. But a lot of people in the VC really don't like edited videos. And it doesn't bother me at all. I kind of prefer them because then I don't have to see you fumbling about. But if you're into editing your videos, edit them. If not, don't. But my number one thing I would recommend is don't care what people think. I see people post photos of their vinyl finds, and then, in a YouTube vinyl group on Facebook or something, and then someone will talk crap about it, and then they delete it. And, because this person was talking crap about it. But that's that person's problem. That's not your problem. You bought an album, you like it, you post a photo of it, and then someone says it's a crappy album. That's their opinion. And, fuck their opinion. Excuse my language. But who cares? It's your record. If you bought it for a reason. Don't care what people think. Do what you want. Listen to what you want. And, yeah, that's my recommendation for what it's worth. But, yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. And good luck digging out there.